Namaskar, everyone. I hope you're doing well. Welcome back to the Bridging Knowledge Gap through Change Risk Management e modules. My name is Divya Rai, and I'm a research fellow at the Maritime Research Center. In our previous modules, we have covered the topic of basics of climate change risk, global status and concerns, climate change risk assessment, and in this presentation, we will cover the topic sea level rise and its impact vis-a-vis globally and India. So the content of my presentation is broadly divided into three sections. The section A will deal with the sea level rise, its definition, recent trends, global impacts and changes. Then section B will deal with the sea level rise, trends, impacts and challenges, and policy interventions. And section C will include conclusion and way ahead. But before we move forward, let's have a quick look what we understood, what was the basic understanding of climate change and what did we understand in our previous modules. So the warming of climate presents threats to all forms of life, be it environment, be it human, be it animal. It ranges from all aspects of forms of life. So climate change is not only posing risk to the living beings, but it's also posing risk to the socio-economic aspects of any country or any region. So we understood that the importance of climate risk assessment is important because we need to understand an area, we need to understand a region and its vulnerability. Then only we will be able to adapt better strategies. Then only we will be able to understand the system. Then only we will be able to understand a geography and its threat particularly. Therefore, we understood that the risks are basically dependent on all these three factors which we have discussed in our previous modules, that is vulnerability, exposure and hazards. And we discussed how we also took up the case of Bay of Bengal region in particular to understand this. Now moving towards the definition of sea level rise. Sea level rise in an increase in ocean depth and brought on by the climate change, particularly global warming, and is primarily caused by three things, that is thermal expansion, glacier melting and loss of Greenland and ice sheet. So the climate change is urgently needed as it was stated in IPCC assessment report for working group 1, which was titled Climate Change 2021, the physical scientific basis. It offers one of the most comprehensive and thorough scientific analysis of causes, effects and signs of climate change. As per a UN report, sea level rise has risen from 15 to 25 centimeters, that is 6 to 10 inches since 1900, and the rate of rise is quickening with every single year, and especially in some tropical regions it's going even way faster. So sea level rise is increase in ocean depth, as I've mentioned. So how do you measure sea level rise? So tide station and satellite laser altimeters are the main tools that are used to measure the sea level rise. And some of the reports states that the less than a centimeter has been added to sea average height annually over the past century. But these tiny increase add up, and it was anticipated that in 2016 the rate would be around 3.4 millimeter per year, up from around 3.2 millimeter per year in 2000. Throughout the past centuries, the sea level rise has been increasing, and the rate has quickened. Between 1880 to 2015, the average worldwide sea level increased by 8.9 inches compared to the previous 2700. This is substantially faster. And also, one of the special reports on ocean and cryosphere and changing climate published by the IPCC, it also highlights that the catastrophic changes in the oceans, glaciers and ice deposits on the land at the sea. And according to analysis, that oceans should rise between 10 to 30 inches by 2100, and temperatures should rise by 1.5 degrees. So you can understand that so many data has been emphasizing that the sea level rise is the biggest threat at the moment to not just the coastal communities but to the inland communities as well. And we will see how. So I've mentioned that the sea level rise is primarily measured through tide station and satellite laser altimeters. Tide gauges are devices that measures the height of the ocean water compared to land. While in today's time, the satellite can take the accurate measurement of the sea level over the oceans. Since we know that the sea level rise are primarily linked to three factors: thermal expansion, melting of glacier, and loss of ice land. So, when a water heats up, it expands. And after half of the sea level rise over the past is 25 years, as attributable to warm ocean simply occupying more space. Therefore, melting glaciers also lead to sea level rise. Higher temperature can cause global warming to have led to greater than average summer melting of large ice formations like mountain glaciers, as well as diminished snowfall due to later winter and earlier spring. So, the imbalances that exist in today's world, or in today's temperature and the climatic condition between the runoff and ocean evaporation, they generally lead to sea level rise. Then loss of Iceland and Greenland sheet. As the mountain glacier increases, it increases heat, is causing more massive ice sheet to melt that covers Greenland and Antarctica, and it is melting more and more quickly. Therefore, the factors that lead to global sea rise and also the seasonal changes, an important factor in the intra-annual rise in the level is annual warming and cooling cycle, which occurs in each hemisphere, and that cause sea to warm and expand in the summer before cooling and contracting in the winter. And because of this, the sea levels in both hemispheres are higher in summer and in early autumn, and lower in winter and early spring. Moreover, no water is held in land during the northern hemisphere winter than in the ocean, which lowers the global average sea level at this time of the year also. The basic understanding is that all these three factors, in other words, we can say that these global warmings, snowfall, the global warming, and the thermal expansion are leading to the sea level rise at a much quicker rate than it existed before. Now, what are the recent trends? So, some of the recent trends, or what is the rate of sea level rise? You can see that at global level, the sea level has risen from around 15 to 25 centimeter, which is around 6 to 10 inches since 1900. Between 1800 and 2015, the average worldwide sea level rise increased by around 8.9 inches. And the global rate, and this is much faster than previous 2700 years. And as per IPCC report, the special report on ocean and cryosphere and the changing climate in 2019, which it underlines that the dire changes taking places in the oceans, glaciers and ice deposits on land and sea. And it also highlighted that the sea level rise is also not uniform across the world. Sea level rise may be higher or lower than the global sea level rise due to subsidence and upstream flood control, erosions, regional ocean currents, and variation in land height and comprehensive weight of ice glaciers. So, these are some of the major trends that we understood about the global sea level rise.